There's this unwritten contract, a silent agreement we all sort of sign when we decide to have kids.
Or even just when you hit a certain age, yeah?
Exactly. And the fine print basically says, you are now the adult with a capital A. You've crossed the finish line of growing up.
Right. You're the competent one, the finished product.
Yeah.
The person who is supposed to have the answers.
Yes. The assumption is you've sorted yourself out. And the child version of you, the one who is needy or scared or chaotic, has politely left the building.
Exited stage left. It's a nice, clean idea.
It is a nice idea. It's the standard narrative. But today, we are doing a deep dive into a source that suggests that contract is totally, completely void.
Rips it right up.
We're looking at an essay called The Child You Were by the writer and philosopher Pedro Mala. And I have to say, this isn't your standard parenting advice. It's not about sleep training.
No, not at all. It's about a collision. And it's a collision that I think almost every parent feels, but rarely has the language for.
What's the core idea?
Mala's central premise is beautifully disrupting. He argues that when you become a parent, the child you were doesn't just disappear. They don't dissolve.
They come back.
They return.
Okay, and just to be clear, because I can hear some listeners thinking, oh, here we go. We are talking about inner child work in that sort of pop psychology sense, are we?
No, that's a really important distinction to make right up front. This isn't about, buying yourself a coloring book to heal your trauma.
Right.
Mala is describing a biological and systemic reaction to the act of caregiving. He calls it a living overlap of time.
A living overlap. I love that phrase.
It's powerful, isn't it? The idea that you think you're just raising the kid in front of you, but you're actually navigating this workspace shared by your current self and your past self.
So that's our mission today, to unpack what that living overlap actually means, because it sounds a little abstract, but when you read it, it feels so grounded.
It's very grounded.
Yeah.
Because it's about what happens to a human body when it is responsible for another human body.
So let's start with the return. Mala is really specific that this past self doesn't show up like a memory. It's not like I'm changing a diaper and suddenly see a film clip of my childhood.
Exactly, and that's where people get tripped up. We expect memory to be a story, a narrative.
A movie clip?
Yeah. But Malha writes that the overlap arrives as sensation.
Sensation. So a physical feeling.
It's somatic. It's that sudden irrational irritation. It's a tightness in your throat or a heaviness in your chest.
Yeah.
He argues that when your child cries or pulls away from you or even just ignores you, it can trigger a physical reaction that is so much older than that moment.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate for a second. Isn't that just stress? Kids are demanding, they're loud. Maybe I'm just tired because it's the early hours and I haven't slept. Why does it have to be this big psychological thing?
And that's a fair question. Of course, fatigue is real. But what Mala points to is the disproportionate nature of the reaction.
What do you mean?
You know that feeling when a toddler spills a cup of milk, and for a split second you feel a rage that is just hot and absolute?
Unfortunately, yes. It feels like the world is ending over a splash of milk.
Right. That feeling is way too big for the actual event. An adult brain knows you can just wipe up the milk. But the child you were might remember a time when a small mistake was a catastrophe.
So the intensity doesn't match the data in front of me. It matches old data.
Precisely. Mala's point is that parenting mirrors the conditions of childhood. Total dependence, vulnerability, the need for trust. The environment itself is the trigger.
It's chemically similar.
It is. You are swimming in the same waters you swam in when you were small. And because the environment matches, your body retrieves the old map.
That's actually kind of terrifying. It means you're not just reacting to the present.
It means you're not just the pilot of the plane, you're also a passenger who's terrified of flying, and you're both at the same time.
Wow, that is a great analogy. And it leads right into the core metaphor he uses, which I think is just brilliant. He called it double exposure.
Yes. This was the part where it really clicked for me.
Visually, it makes so much sense. In old film photography, a double exposure is when two images are layered on the same piece of film.
You can see both, but they create a third, complex, sometimes messy image. A skyline, maybe, with a face overlaid on it.
Mala says parenting is a psychological double exposure. Yeah. You are constantly doing two things at once. First, you're the adult responding to the child who is right there.
But second, and at the same time, you're standing in the exact position of the adults who shaped you. You're stepping into their shoes.
And that layering, that's what's so exhausting. Mala argues that parental burnout isn't just physical tiredness. He says the real exhaustion comes from the invisible labor of holding two timelines apart.
Yes, because you're trying to stay calm and be the good parent,
Mm.
while your internal system is just vibrating with the body memory of being the child who maybe didn't get that calmness.
And that vibration costs energy. So much energy.
Immense energy. You could be just sitting on the couch watching them play. But if your system is bracing for chaos, because that's what your childhood felt like, you are burning calories. It's work that nobody sees.
This completely explains that weird phenomenon he mentions, and I have absolutely felt this, of suddenly feeling small.
Smallness, yes.
It's late at night, everyone's crying, and you have this desperate wish for a real adult to come in and just take over. You want to be looked after.
It's such a common secret among parents.
And my first instinct is always to shame myself for it. Grow up, you're the parent. Suck it up.
We all do that. We see it as immaturity.
Mm.
But Mala reframes it. He says that feeling isn't a failure. It's a signal. It's a signal that the demand for care has brought the child you were very, very close to the surface.
It's a proximity alert.
A proximity alert, exactly. You aren't regressing.
Yeah.
You are accessing deep empathy, but it's coming through the channel of your own past vulnerability.
Okay, so this double exposure, the sensation of the past, Malha goes deeper into the biology of it, the nervous system. This is where it goes from philosophy to something almost clinical.
It does. He talks about stored knowledge.
But not facts and figures, right? Not state
Oh,
capital.
No, he's talking about survival knowledge.
Yeah.
The child, you were stored data about what safety feels like, about what tone of voice means danger, about the pacing of a room. He says this knowledge is stored as readiness, alertness, caution, openness.
Let's dig into readiness. What does that actually look like?
Okay, so let's say you grew up in a house where a slammed door meant trouble. It meant someone was angry and things were about to get bad.
Okay, I can picture that.
That sound, the slam, is now coded in your nervous system as a threat. So fast forward 30 years, you're the parent. The wind slams a door, your teenager slams the door. Your conscious adult brain knows it's just the wind. It's normal teenage angst. But your nervous system,
It's already under the table.
it has already launched a full-blown threat response before you've had a conscious thought. Cortisol spikes, muscles tense. Your body knows what that sound meant decades ago.
Yeah.
And now you have to try and parent through that spike.
That gap, the gap between what my body feels and what the parenting book tells me I'm supposed to do, that's where all the friction is.
That is the double exposure in action. And Malha says this is most intense in two specific areas: fear and love.
Let's do fear first.
Yeah.
Because the catastrophic thinking is so real for parents.
The spiral.
The spiral, your kid falls off the swing, they're fine, a little scrape. But in your head, you're already at the emergency room, you're blaming yourself, you're terrified.
Malha says that this disproportionate fear is a merger. Part of it is real. You love this kid. But a huge part belongs to the body memory of being small yourself. When you were small, the world was dangerous. You couldn't protect yourself.
So I'm feeling their vulnerability, plus my adult responsibility, plus the echo of my own childhood helplessness.
It's a triple whammy. That's why the fear feels so consuming. It's not just about the scrape on the knee today. It's echoing from the past.
And then there's love, which you'd think would be the easy part, the reward.
You would think.
But Maul uses this phrase that just stopped me cold. He says loving a child opens defended places.
It's one of the most powerful parts of the essay. We think of love as just adding joy, adding warmth.
Yeah.
But he says love is exposing. When you love a child that fiercely, you inadvertently open up the parts of yourself that you had to shut down to get through your own childhood.
So if you learn not to cry because crying wasn't safe, loving a toddler who cries all the time forces you to engage with that defended place.
It forces the door open. And behind that door is what Mala calls the unspoken hope of the child you were. A hope that this time it will be different.
Oh, that's heavy.
It's so heavy. The hope that care will be reliable this time, that mistakes will be repaired, but that hope, it translates into immense pressure.
The pressure to be the perfect parent, to never screw up.
And this brings us to the villain of the story, or what we think is the villain, the inner critic.
That voice, the one that wakes you up late at night, listing all your failures. You shouldn't have yelled. You didn't play with them enough today.
Malha has such a compassionate take on this. He suggests that this harsh voice isn't just self-hatred. It's protective vigilance.
Wait, explain that, because when that voice tells me I'm ruining my kids, it does not feel protective. It feels destructive.
It feels that way,
Why?
but think about the logic of the child you were. That child learned that mistakes were dangerous. So the logic now is, if I am hypervigilant If I criticize every single error I make, I can prevent the old harms from happening to my own child.
So the critic is screaming, "Don't mess this up," because it remembers what messed up felt like from the inside,
Exactly. It's a traumatized guardian. It's holding a weapon to your head to try and keep you safe.
which is incredibly counterproductive.
Totally. It drains all the joy out of the room. It makes ordinary days tense. You can't actually connect with your kid if you're busy beating yourself up.
Okay, so what do we do? It sounds like a mess. We have the nervous system firing off old alarms, the inner critic screaming. Malha talks about two common traps people fall into.
He does. Trap number one is suppression, the optimization route.
I know this one well. Read all the books, make the schedule, control everything. If I just do it perfectly, I won't feel the mess.
You try to technique your way out of the feeling. Malha says this just leads to numbness. You push the child you're away, but you end up disconnecting from yourself. You become a parenting machine.
And trap number 2.
Obsession. Constantly looking backward.
My dad did this, so I will do the exact opposite.
Yes. You're navigating by staring into the rearview mirror. And the danger there is that the child in front of you gets overshadowed by the ghost of the child behind you. You aren't parenting your actual kid, you're just parenting a reaction to your past.
So if suppression doesn't work and obsession doesn't work, what's the middle ground?
Recognition. He calls it recognition without obsession.
He has that line. Included, not indulged. Seen, not centered.
That's the entire key. You acknowledge the child you were is present. You don't banish them, but you also don't let them drive the bus.
So practically speaking, let's go back to the slam door. The door slams, my heart spikes. Instead of yelling or just seething silently, what do I do?
You notice it. You say to yourself, okay, my heart is racing.
Yeah.
That's the old map. I am safe now. This is just a door.
You label the timelines.
You label the timelines. And Mala says when you realize, okay, I'm frustrated about the noise, but I'm terrified because of the past, the weight of it changes. It shifts from being a personal failure to being the cost of holding time.
I love that phrase, the cost of holding time. It takes the shame out of it. I'm not a bad parent. I'm just processing a lot of data at once.
And here's the paradox. Acknowledging your own inner child actually makes you steadier for your real child.
How does that work?
Because you stop spending half your energy fighting yourself. When you aren't resisting that ghost, you have more bandwidth for the kid who is actually in the room. You can offer them what Mala calls genuine contact.
Real contact, not projected contact. And this must change how we think about mistakes.
It does. Recognizing the past doesn't stop you from making them. You will still yell sometimes. You will still miss a tune.
Phew, good to know.
But it changes how those mistakes are carried. They aren't proof that you're broken. They just become part of a shared human pattern. And that allows for real repair.
This feels like it shifts the whole goal of parenting. It's not about winning each day.
No. Mala calls parenting a long exposure. Like the photo metaphor again. You leave the shutter open for a long time. The image captures movement. It softens. It blurs.
It evolves.
It evolves. As your child grows, as they become a teenager and then leave home, they'll touch different parts of your history. The triggers will change.
So the toddler years might trigger feelings of dependency, but the teenage years might trigger feelings of being misunderstood.
Exactly. It's a dynamic relationship.
Yeah.
You are constantly meeting new versions of your past self as your child ages.
Which brings us to how he ends the essay, with this idea of the quiet ache.
Yes, the ache.
It's usually late at night, the house is finally quiet, you're checking on them while they're asleep, and you feel this squeeze.
Malha describes it as a sweetness that also hurts. It's a very specific emotional texture.
It feels like missing someone who is right there in front of you.
That's it. And he says that ache isn't a problem to be solved. It's the present touching the unresolved past. It's the collision point. Don't try to fix it. Just let it be there.
Included, not indulged.
It allows you to hold the weight as just weight, not as a fault.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the ultimate takeaway isn't closure, is it? He's not promising you'll be healed.
No, and I respect the honesty in that. Parenting doesn't fix your childhood, but it offers contact. The goal isn't to be healed so that you can finally parent well. The goal is clarity.
Clarity that you aren't doing this alone. You're doing it with that younger version of yourself tagging along.
And when that younger version is seen, really seen, they don't need to shout so loud anymore. They don't have to hijack your nervous system to get your attention.
Which changes the story of exhaustion from, I'm doing this wrong, to this is just big work.
It honors the magnitude of the task. It validates all that invisible labor.
So here's a final thought for you, the listener. Let's bring it into your actual day. Maybe it's tomorrow morning.
The morning chaos, we all know it.
The cereal's on the floor, the shoes are lost, and you feel that familiar rising tide of panic or rage. Instead of just white-knuckling through it or yelling, what if you just paused for just a microsecond
Take a breath.
and just recognize that the intensity of that feeling isn't just about the shoes, it's the invisible labor of carrying two lifetimes at once.
And maybe, instead of fighting that younger version of yourself, you just say hello.
Just a quick hello, I see you, we're okay.
It might change everything.
Thanks for diving deep with us.
Take care.